Welcome to Tales She Told Me, a podcast featuring honest conversation about what it means to be a woman, a mother, and in business. I'm your host, Farrah Haidar. Today, we will be discussing feeding your creativity and being creative in a fast paced world. And joining me is KR Raye. KR Raye is the author of the Colors Trilogy, which was a finalist for the Forward Review's 2013 Book of the Year Awards in the multicultural category, and the 2014 Readers' Crowd finalist in women's fiction. KR lives in Maryland with her husband and two sons. Throughout her diverse career working as a mechanical engineer, adjunct professor, and in sales, she continues to weave her love of marketing, computer information systems, and operations together with her passion for writing. So, KR, I love that bio as someone who is kind of creative, but also, I did an MBA. I have a mind for math, maybe not a mechanical engineering math, but a mind for math. I absolutely, absolutely love that bio. And one thing that has always hit me is how people separate the arts and the sciences as if they're so separate, right? I think that's a huge misconception, but I want to hear from you. What is your biggest misconception that you think happens about creativity?
That it's tapping exactly into what you said, Farah, that nobody has it or only a select few have it. And it's like everybody actually does have creativity. Others are more skilled at it, as we all have different skill sets and passions that we're just really jazzed up about. But everybody has an ounce of creativity in them. It's just a matter of tapping into it and realizing that that's what it is and that it's there. So to me, that's totally the biggest misconception is that, oh, there's those creative types out there. And then there's the rest of us. It's like, no, we all have creativity in us.
Exactly. And I think so many engineers and stuff, like, because my husband's an engineer and he goes, oh, I'm not creative. I'm like, honestly, you kind of
You
are.
are.
Just being able to piece together the code that you do is a sign of
Exactly.
creativity, right? And then I always look at him like Leonardo da Vinci was also an engineer, but he was
Yes.
Leonardo da Vinci, right?
Yes.
so, so that's it. I'm glad we agree on that. But, one thing I struggle with as someone who's creative and also a business owner and has kids, and, sometimes I feel dried out and I think creativity needs to be fed. So, what do you do to feed your creativity? Because you are also a million things, right?
To me, it's literally being curious. If you take the time to ask questions in your daily life, it could be as you're getting the kids ready. Wow, as mothers and as parents, period, we go through this. It's like, how do we get the kids from point A to point B, or get them so that they're not jumping off the walls and doing all kind of crazy things, right? And so you're always having questions in your head. That's your curiosity, your creativity. And so tap into that and go like, okay, how do we do this without injuring the children and getting their like energy focused on this? That's tapping into your creativity. Just like you were saying, your day to day, as you're trying to understand how to get through your whole list of to-dos, or
Mhm.
what your boss has told you to do, or what your spouse is telling you to do, or etc. Right? Start thinking of like, how can I get this done faster, better? Go without doing it this time. How long can we go without doing it? Right? Those are all things that can spark great creativity. And it's just out there everywhere. Just tap into it and start to go like, oh, okay, all of these routines that I'm doing, those are just like our rote routines, but how can I make this more fun or less taxing, or even asking that question of, do I need to even do this at all? So
I ask that question a lot, especially when I'm doing the dishes. It's like there must be a better way to do
there has to be a better way.
that. You know, as you mentioned, we're all really, really short on time, and sometimes I feel like my creativity needs time in this fast-paced world, and I do feel that the best writing comes from the best editing, right? Like, so we start
Yes.
out saying something takes us 30 sentences, it should take us two. Um, but how do you basically stay creative and relevant in this fast-paced world, that doesn't seem to give us a lot of breathing room?
To me, one of the biggest compliments I get all the time is that my work is extremely relatable. I've had people say that, "Oh my gosh, you were a fly on my dorm room," or "Were you like in my house looking around?" kind of thing. It's like, no, 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 no. But people have said I'm kind of like the Dick Wolf of taking the latest things ripped from the headlines and pulling it out. And that's the same sort of thing when you want to stay relevant and really plug into the fast-paced world, right? Look to see what's going on, unfortunately on social media,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And see what's trending. See if that sparks something in your creativity and what you want to talk about and what you want to focus on the day, right? Same thing. Even though the news can be extremely depressing, there's a lot of interesting stuff that is happening in the world.
Yeah.
Tap into that. See what's going on and what are, you mentioned your daughter before, looking at what are our kids going through? I mean, the stuff that they're facing right now. I mean, we always love to tell them, like, yes, mom and dad have been through that at some point in time, but there's a whole nother spin and level to what the kids are going through. So really tap in and see exactly what's going on outside of your neighborhood, outside of your normal comfort zone. And that really helps you stay relevant, by being able to see, like, oh my gosh, so many people are struggling with this or this or this or this. And being able to put a voice to that really, really helps.
It's so fascinating. Like, I have like three questions from that answer. Um, but do you think that is probably the function of art, really, is to draw
Yes,
out the nuance?
it
Be-
is. It's to
yeah.
show when you're talking about tapping into your creativity, it's about showing the differences, but the similarities. There's so many things that are alike with all of us, regardless of where we are from around the world, what we believe in. Um, we're 90, if you look at our DNA, we're like 95, 98% the same, right?
Yeah.
And so there's so many different things that you can talk about that deal with, like, friendship, love, emotions, angst, anger. There's all these different things you could tap into that are the same across all of our different lifestyles and cultures and experiences. And then bringing out those cool, neat ones that are just from your perspective is really how you help people understand each other and show us that this is
Mhm.
this is one cool world that we're all
Yeah.
blessed to be a part of. So let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah. Um, so you brought up young people and what our kids are facing. And I have a 13 and a 9-year-old, and I can tell you, when I was 13, I was actually in a Civil War situation. So I have literally no framework to understand my kids' current reality. Right. And she definitely is like, you have no idea what I'm going through. Um,
No.
so how, and your job as an artist, as a creative, is to draw out that nuance, is maybe make parents like me understand children like her,
Yeah.
um, and what's going on in their life. So could you, I'm trying to make this succinct. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? Like, because your stuff is so relevant and so ripped from the headlines, how do you see the differences in this up and coming generation versus us?
It's literally listening to the kids. And the cool thing about this generation, they are very vocal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
They're extremely vocal. So some of the older generations feel that they overshare, right? But no, listen to it and really start to pick on the things that are causing them. Like they're extremely aware
Mhm.
of their mental health, which is something that older generations, you didn't talk about that. Why is therapy necessary? Blah, blah, blah. But we're running around with a lot of trauma. As you said, having gone through a civil war, that is extreme trauma, right? And so being able to pull some of their willingness and ability to talk about what we went through, right? And to help them see, like bridge that gap, right? Of, okay, even though we have totally different experiences, I'm feeling what you're feeling and I'm seeing the things that are causing you angst. And this is how we handled it in our generation, but this is what I'm learning from your generation, right?
Mhm.
And so it really just helps just having those conversations, those very tough conversations that, our generation is like, just toughen up, get over it. It's okay, right?
No, no, I know. My
It's just
like my kid talks to me about things, and I'm so grateful, by the way. This is not a complaint. My kid talks to me about things I would have never in a million years even like
talk to our
brought
parents
up
about.
at home. Forget in front of my mom, at home, right? Like I would have never, I'm so grateful she does. I'm not
Yes,
ungrateful. But sometimes she asks me, like, well, how did you guys deal with this? And I'm kind of like,
we
we
didn't.
just made it happen.
We
Like,
just made it.
like
Yeah.
there was no room for us to talk
No.
about our trauma. It
No.
was like,
You just dug in and you went forward and
it's
blinders
fun.
on, just trying to survive.
I know,
Right?
like I was talking to a friend of mine and I was telling her this, like my kid's talking about this. I'm like, we didn't talk about trauma, didn't you? She looked at me, she's like, no, anytime I talked about being sad, my mom was like, there are starving kids in Africa. You better not be sad.
Yes.
Like it was like, there was no sadness for you. Right?
No,
Like
no sadness at all.
no sadness at all. So they are definitely very, very different. I always say I think they're going to change the world. And sometimes whenever I find myself nervous or something about, not nervous, but like being like, oh my
Yeah.
God, what are these kids doing? I'm kind of like, well, it's going to be their world. So they'll have to live with it.
Have to
Um,
live with it. Yeah.
I always have constructive feedback, but not that it's very welcome, right? Like,
I think we do. That's our job as parents.
that is our job as parents. And one day they'll appreciate it, maybe.
One day.
We hope. Um, anyway, so we've talked a lot about the beauty of creativity and how everyone has it and stuff, but I'm always interested in the not so pleasant stuff. So what is the dark side to your creativity?
So there are wonderful, fantastic memes and sayings that go around for writers,
Mhm.
especially where if we don't like you, we are known to kill you off in a book, right? Or in a screenplay or in something,
You're
right?
in my
And
world now,
so
baby. Yeah.
that's the dark side. We know how to kill people off in very creative ways that,
Yeah.
you'll just never find the body later kind of
Oh
thing.
my God.
So that's the dark side. I always tell people, yeah, I am very pleasant real life, but yeah, it pissed me off. And you
We,
might find out later on
yeah,
that there's a character based on
it's
you
on you.
that
Doesn't make it through the
didn't come to a
series.
really good end.
Yeah, I know. Like I'm a creative person myself. I haven't published like you have. It's one of my dreams. Hopefully I'll get there one day.
You will.
Um, but for me, like some of the personal dark sides have been this constant need to create, like to always do again and again and again and again. And if you don't learn how to properly channel that energy
Yeah,
and replenish,
you can spiral
yeah,
very, very easily. There's
yeah.
so many of my writer friends. I mean, all of us as humans, right, go through periods of doubts or, like, am I living up to my purpose, my calling, right? And so not dwelling in that, but just giving yourself grace and knowing that, okay, today I may not have written 1,000 words, or I may not have written at all, right? It's okay. Tomorrow I can, right? And it's just giving yourself that breathing room to know that it's going to be okay. You will continue to do it even when you think that, oh my gosh, I can't have a creative spark in my
I
body.
know.
Like having all kind of like
I know.
just
You get this fear. It's like, is that my last good idea? And did
and
someone
and
else
and
take
it's
it?
it's yeah, right. But it's not. That's the cool thing is take that time to do other sides, other things that spark your creativity, that replenish you, right?
Mhm.
Um, or as you're doing your book business, just take time to market, take time to edit, take time to grow your author platform. There's other things you can do in that time to just let your mind just relax, refresh and rejuvenate, and then come back at it. So it's not gone.
No,
It
it's
just
not gone.
sometimes needs a break.
I think the hard part of it is creativity relies on play, right? And we're definitely trained in this beautiful society of ours to not play. Like
To not
everything
play.
has to have a purpose, especially when you're busy. Is this really worth my time? Is sitting here, da, da, da. And I find that stops a lot of people from doing stuff that they would enjoy and
Yeah.
potentially lead them into new opportunities that are productive,
Yeah.
but you got to play first. And
You
that's,
have to play. You have to have that double time. You have to have, you mentioned Leonardo da Vinci before. When back in the Renaissance era, you had people from all walks of life getting together that were like masters in their field. And it was that spark of around being around other creatives that helped them come up with this Renaissance
Mhm.
spirit, right? And it was just art went crazy, engineering went crazy, math went crazy, everything, because they allowed themselves that opportunity to just commune and talk through what if, and hey, how about this? And oh, wow, seeing your painting sparked my idea for this writing. And
Yeah.
it grew off of each other. So you do, as you mentioned, Farrah, have to have that double time and put that in your schedule as something that is a needed and necessary component of this whole world of creativity that we live in.
So mentioning community, because you just mentioned community, are you part of writing communities? Has that
Yes,
helped you?
yes.
Yes.
Definitely. I have been part of writers groups. I've been part of, I'm actively in the Maryland Writers Guild in Baltimore, Black Writers Guild of Maryland. There we go.
Mhm.
I'm part of the Hartford Writers Guild. I'm part of the Independent Book Publishing Association. So there's different groups that you can be a part of, and there are tons of Facebook groups that I'm a part of as well, where anything can spark your imagination, your creativity, and they all help in different ways depending on what you're looking at. So it could be about book marketing, it could be about writing, it could be about editing, it could be about any number of things, getting your book done, right? And each of them serve their purpose for being able to help replenish you, give you that community of cheerleaders that's
Mhm.
just, out there helping you achieve the most that you can be. So
Yeah.
definitely community is important.
Well, we'll be cheering you on. Now
Thank you.
I get to ask you my evergreen question. And are you ready?
Yes.
It is, what is a weird habit or ritual you have that makes your life more joyful?
So for me, it's probably getting to, and unfortunately, it's not like a daily ritual, which
That's
I would
okay.
love if it were, right? But I love writing outside.
Mm.
And it gives me the opportunity to kind of what you were saying, right? Just relax, enjoy nature, get inspired by. I always say God has a very funny sense of humor. So if you're even just looking at bugs, right?
Yeah.
There's like a bug that'll come by, and I'm like, how did
Wow.
you even think to create that, right? So that's very helpful on my new
Yeah.
series because we're creating this fantasy world, and there's some real crazy creatures that I'm coming up with, but you're getting inspired by nature, right? And it's just allowing you to have that vitamin D, that time in the sun, um, and just being able to relax a bit. So that's my crazy little guilty pleasure that I love being able to do,
Mhm.
but not always able to do that.
Well, KR, it has been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for taking the time and for telling us
My
a little bit about
pleasure.
creativity. If you're interested in KR's Colors Trilogy or to hear more about her upcoming series, The Prince Taj Chronicles, you can find where to purchase them on her website at www.krraye.com. You can also connect with KR on Instagram and Facebook at KR Raye 3. Links below in the show notes. As always, I'd love to hear from you about this episode. What do you do to feed your creativity? Hit me up on Instagram or Facebook at Farrah Haidar. Also, I'm giving away a PDF of some of the best quotes we've had on the show. beautifully designed to print, cut, paste, whatever you like. Email me at farrah@farrahhaidar.com and title it Quotes. Talk to you soon. Till then, chase your happy.